Alright, we finally reached New York.
You maniacs!
You
blew it up!
Damn you all to hell!
I love how we were in
I'll-
absolute sync when we saw
I'll
that.
I'll just let you see this cutscene because for basically the rest of this part, there's nothing else as you can imagine. But like I said, I will explain after the cutscene's over.
What am I even doing here?
Suffering.
Like, again, as far as we know, we're boned without a scientist in the know on how to fix things. Unless Capelli secretly has a backup plan that we, the audience, don't know of.
Yeah.
I hate that song.
Someone must have been here recently. Especially for that record player to still be playing like that.
Yeah, pro tip, no, don't do what Capelli is doing. If you have cold, getting alcohol is the worst thing you can do. Because it doesn't help hypothermia.
But I like a hot cup of tea.
Hello,
This
hello,
is
testing 1, 2,
post-apocalypse
3.
radio.
And of course it works.
Hello? Not even sure if this thing's working. My name is Joe Capelli. This message is from my wife, Susan.
Also, do you even know where this message is going, my dude?
He's just trying.
Okay.
I miss you. I made it. I'm in New York, close to the tower. I think. If I can make it there alive, I'll try and destroy it. But Malikov is dead. If he were here, I might have a chance.
So, as far as I know, I'm just throwing myself in blindly to lose.
Oh my god.
The glove!
I did like you said.
Again, like I said, these scenes would be fine if the game made us care.
Okay, yeah, like, all joking aside, Robin Atkindaus is turning in a beautiful performance here.
I love you.
Why couldn't we have gotten more of his wonderful performance in-game?
I loved him.
It's like Tio said...
They played us like a damn fiddle.
It's like Tio said, though, he becomes a silent mute for pretty much most of the in-games.
And since, you know, it does happen to all the gameplay moments of the game, you can imagine that for this entire level, we get a throwback to the first game in a sense, by having no dialogue whatsoever. It's just Capelli against the Chimeras of New York. Enjoy!
So I guess I'll take this time to reflect on the last part. So, Mick Cutler turned out to be a past Serpa agent. What am I supposed to feel from that? I mean, they treat it like a big revelation, like, oh, he was from Serpa just like you, and I guess he was...
I can tell you for a fact that apparently this is not explained in any of the novels, so it's not really something that, oh, you needed the side material to know about this. It's just a matter of, I get the idea maybe it's a case where, you know, it made it easier for him to recognize Capelli.
It's like... Now, ideally, a cool thing could be, like, maybe he is a soldier discharged, except the problem is, again, like I said before, discharging soldiers for, well, heck, we don't even know what Mick apparently did to get booted out, so...
I think it's mentioned in this enemy intel, which I will read, I think, in the extras part.
Okay. I guess I'll wait to see about that before passing final judgment. Still, I think that would be a nice thing to actually mention in-game for the reveal and, like, why he's evil all of a sudden. Like, you know, it'd be one thing if he was just a psychopath, but no, this guy was in Serpa, fighting the good fight. What the heck made him suddenly turn on humanity like this?
Okay, and for our final curveball, one of the final new enemy types that you get is random hybrids with rocket launchers.
Oh, joy.
This is kind of overkill, I have to say. It's a good thing, it's a good way for you to actually get rocket ammunition, but Jesus, like, for against an infantry target, you think it's a bit much?
I guess they don't want to take any chances since it's all now. It's all or nothing.
Anyway, as you noticed, one of the big gimmick about this is in order to get through the Chimeran defenses is to shut down context-sensitive spots in order to lower their barricades. So, there's that. Otherwise, most of this section becomes a sort of a quiet stuff that you have to use, where you have to snipe from afar, or wait until there you go a group passes in order to ambush them. The worst thing you can do in this level is actually rush forward, because otherwise you will get riddled with bullets pointlessly.
I guess if I can give some credit, I did dig the haunting, droning, sad tone of the music before we entered into battle with the aliens. That was nice.
Go, got him. You will also learn via some of the intel that some of the troops that actually were in New York got slaughtered, and that guy, that corpse right there, is actually one of the last that actually passed away.
That would explain also why some of the tech, I guess, seemed like it was recently used.
It makes more sense than it was in the first game, where they claim that Hale was the one trooper that managed to enter the final tower in London, but there was still a bunch of people dead and a bunch of equipment scattered around, possibly in order to balance. All right, let's see.
Running a bit low on health there.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a visual nightmare. Again, despite the fact that you have a normal health, but you still get the veiny stuff, and the screen turns either black and white or sepia, which is not a good look. Like I said, we also had the problem of when a storm happened. Jump cut. When a storm happens, the bolts of lightning are a bit annoying. Also noted a bit the scopes of the enemy sniper when they point at you tends to flash a bit. So yeah, this is still way before Sony started caring about accessibility. I really do wonder who was the first major. Oh shit! Who was the first major game? There you go. You just saw a particular death when I managed to overload the coolant pack on the back of the Chimeran. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
I honestly wonder who was the first major game that popularized the whole veiny protrusions on the screen when you get to low health. Not necessarily connected to lack of health bar, or regenerating health or anything. Just the visualization of the veiny stuff. I wonder. Oh well. Oh fuck! I tripped the alarm.
Oh snap.
Don't you hate it when that happens? You're strolling along and he just tripping alarm.
I mean, that's the job that the alarm has to do. So there is that.
You know what's a better alarm?
What?
A silent alarm. The enemies can hear it, but you can't, and you won't know you've been detected until it's too late.
I'm pretty sure it is possible. Yeah, thankfully the Ogre Shield does come in handy for this. Most of the time anyway. There you go. And yeah, like I said, since the game introduces for this last stretch the enemies with the rocket launcher. Now you have to be super extra careful because it's not just the enemy with the auger that you have to look out for, but those that literally wants to blow the shit out of you. And like I get it, it's effective, but again, it's supposed to be a weapon designed to fight vehicles, not infantry. Holy shit.
I guess they really figured might as well give them one old good classic Zurg rush to remind them that yes, you are playing a resistance game.
It's usually that's the thing. Also, it's usually the Titans the one that carry the anti tank type of weaponry. But there are no tanks in but there are no Titans in this game. If you noticed, I get it. It's probably because of the time discrepancy and the fact that the Chimeran invasion has come to a halt. There is not as much variety anymore as it was. So we don't have any more stuff like, say, the chameleon. The Grey Jack, the Sleep Skull, or in this case the Titan. But man, I you realize at this point that the enemy variety took a bit of a downturn in this game. You get mostly different variations of hybrid with different equipment, and sometimes the big guys and the drones. That's kind of it. Sure, there are the fair ones with the still the Leaper and it's cool that the Widowmaker came back, but it really feels more like a one kind of thing that happened. For the record, as usual, I'm almost done with Retribution by the time we're recording this part. The enemy variety in there is much technically better, and it's more inspired by Resistance 1. So you get a bunch of enemies plus a couple of new ones that are directly linked to that. Also, what are they attacking?
The sky, by the looks of it?
No, it's like okay. It implied that they were attacking each other, but doesn't seem to be because the hybrids are not feral, so it's like they're attacking that specific part of a building.
Did they think that the drone
oh
was
no, it's okay. Let me explain. My bad, because the notification made me reminder. The door, because this turn, if I recall correctly, this turns out to be a mission, a small side mission in which, if you manage to, not allow the Chimera to enter inside, you do get an achievement. But it's not. It's another thing that's not easy, similar to the one with the pub. Back with Charlie's group, which I can use this time also to mention quickly. The reason Charlie's group essentially disappeared after Capelli dropped is because Capelli told them to reach for his family in Oklahoma to make sure they were safe. So that's the reason why they're not here.
I'm guessing that's explained by in-game stuff from one of the collectibles.
No, but it was told in the cutscenes. We just talked it over.
Fair enough. Alright, just get that last one who's doing a laser sight, and I think we can move on.
The sniper.
Oh, 2, but...
I think there are 4. Yeah, there's an auger one that popped up a shield. Oh.
Walkers.
Also, more reinforcements. Hooray!
Oh.
Like I said, Joe, but we're almost at the end of the game, so this is the moment where the game starts to be a dick again.
Padding.
And like I said, because again we're operating on the idea of Capelli not talking during gameplay, he's doing all of this while not saying anything. And to be fair, tone-wise, I think this is the better moment for him to do. But hear me out. If throughout the entire game, Capelli did actually, talk during the levels, and purposefully refrained to do it here, it probably would be much more effective because it would be purposeful, It would be something that the player notices and that makes sense for him to do because, right end of the journey, he has no one else to talk with, so it kind of makes sense for that to happen. But for that to be a constant throughout the entire game is just a detriment. Like I said, at the very least, it's satisfying to use these weapons. So at the very least, there's that.
It's something.
Again, there's only a percentage of more far out stuff. We're not reaching still the levels of the first resistance, but there's definitely more of an effort that was in. There you go. Now I can move. There's not an effort. There's more of an effort than that was in Resistance 2. And again, the fact that I can carry all my weapons this time around allows me to experiment with them. Not to mention the fact that they level up gives me an incentive to try to vary in order to level them over bit by bit. All right, time to move into, if I recall correctly, the subway system. Not a sewer, just the subway. There are a bunch of these control panels that you have to open and then blow the hell up to open the door. So... Anytime now, Bo. There you go.
Oh boy, that's
Loading.
it's weird. As a kid,
Also, game, I really would appreciate if you did allow me to toggle on and off the flashlight instead of predeterminedly use it. But sure, whatever you want.
It's funny. As a kid, I used to think, hey, the more there is to a game, obviously that just means more fun time. But, man, you do start to realize that for as fun as something may be, if it drags on too much without spicing up things in a good way, damn, it will get old. Like, let me put it like this. If you want to make a game long, then you have to have a good pace and enough stuff to keep it fresh and interesting, essentially. And also, I feel like you should be more fair with checkpoints or just how strenuous stuff can be.
I can tell you that compared to the first two games, this is much more generous with the checkpoints. Speaking of which,
fair enough.
I heard the New York subway is dangerous, but this is ridiculous.
What's the deal with that? Well, at least that.
And now you're getting another situation of infighting because the Grims are considered feral, and as a result, the hybrids are actually attacking them, which works just for me.
Yeah, we'll let you guys deal with the Grims for once.
Although the big guy is best to actually be dealt with nonetheless. Look at them go!
Don't mind us.
Just provides the electric company representative your severely underpayment with your bill.
Yep. So consider this a repayment on that regard.
Ow. Rude.
Come on, guys,
Basically,
we were sort of on your side.
There you go. When the atomizer level ups, you get bonuses like the arch charger, as in more distance that or more power that the normal attack actually covers.
I forget if the level up function was in 2, but it is pretty nifty.
No. It is something introduced in this one, and it's like I said, it's a breath of fresh air because it allows different new stuff for the weapons, and it's an incentive to actually play with them. So
that's nice.
Like I said, just the upgrade of the first upgrade of a shotgun makes it completely worth it. And the third one, if I recall correctly, has more clip. Oh no, actually, it also gives the grenades the fire attribute. So cool.
Very nice.
Let's see if I can actually freeze instead one of these big guys. Yes?
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
It takes a bit more ammo, but it can. Something fatality.
Freezality.
Sure. Also, you might have heard that the music is technically back. It's just still a bit more subdued because it tries to be still about the fighting, but possibly also to represent. Okay, then moving on to represent the cold environment. Oh, sorry, forgot about you. Uh-oh. Yeah, there's another Widowmaker around, so...
And of course they can do just fine in the cold.
To be fair, that's the entire point of the Chimera. They actually try better in the cold environment, which in fact instead it makes me wonder why the hybrid still needs the coolant, backpacks that they have. But oh well.
Just in case the humans come up with a giant heat ray.
Yeah, and for once we kind of probably needed the Hammer of Dawn from the Gears games. That would have helped.
Did Resistance take any Gears of War cues, I wonder?
No, because, okay, maybe a couple of weapon designs, but like I said, Insomniac has always been creative, so I charge it's more of a coincidence more than anything, and this being a first-person shooter without a cover system, not really, I can tell you that... No, not even Killzone technically does that. Retribution is actually a third-person shooter with a cover system, but it's a very simplified one for the sake of the PSP type of controls. So not really, not really as well. No, I don't think any major, major first-party IP from Sony actually tried to use the Gears formula. There were some third-party titles, like Inversion, for example, a game published by Namco, of all people, that is a TPS with a cover system similar to Gears. And there's also Warhammer 40k Space Marine, which actually adapts it very well, considering the Space Marine setting are bulky enough, like the unit from Gears. So there is that. All right, if I recall correctly, we're actually almost out to the subway. Thankfully, there are still some of these corpses that allows us to get a couple of minor weapons, particularly the carbine ammos. Oh, look at that, a bunch of hybrids. I'm sure they're doing nothing. Oh no, here's the Widowmaker. Thankfully, since it's a free-for-all, the hybrid will most of the time ignore you. You really need to get up to their face to start, getting their attention. So focus yourself also on the Widowmaker, because you need to kill it in order to actually go through.
I was thinking maybe at least before we were heading into the belly of the beast, Capelli would have a plan, but since he does not speak during these cutscenes, I can only be led to believe that at the last minute, a solution will present itself.
I get, okay, this is, keep in mind, this is just a personal interpretation, but I do wonder if actually intended that. I do wonder if at this point, considering he really cannot go back to his family, at this point, Capelli might feel suicidal, and he just wants to, give it a try, and if he dies in the process, damn it all.
It's a good theory, except... For all he knows, as far as he knows, his family could be alive and well, so him suddenly being suicidal when he...
Well, then they're very far away, and he cannot really go back at this point.
Okay, my point is, it would feel weird for Capelli to suddenly give in to suicide just because he misses his family that much without knowing if they're even alive or dead.
like me and you said, if he actually started speaking during the level, it probably would help.
And why not? At least at this very point where there's no one else to even talk. It really... Again, my best conclusion that I've got is they were feeling nostalgic for Resistance 1 and wanted to replicate Halo in that regard. Except the thing is, Resistance 1 at least had almost everyone else chatting for Halo.
That was one of the major functions also on the team, to give someone to bounce in order to not have even if they did not speak much, there was still something, anything that could go through.
But here, not so much. And again, somehow you made Capelli arguably have less character than Resistance 1 Hail. Like, holy cow. And yes, that is technically in just the in-game stuff, but he really feels like he becomes kind of a different character in-game.
Like I said, if you want to have your character not speak, find an alternate way for, like, make the actions of the character actually matter, so the character is still communicating something to the player or in story without having to resort to speak. It's just that easy. Again, even for a non-game example, Gary Tartakovsky is a master of doing this with both, Samurai Jack and more recently Primal.
Oh yeah. It just really boggles the mind, and like, again, maybe their focus is more on the multiplayer. Even if that is the case, that is not an excuse, especially since, again, what this game has to be remembered by, now that the multiplayer no longer works traditionally, is the single-player stuff. And I get it.
There's also the unfortunate thing that I do not know personally many people, that I can contact that had, fond memories of this, or, could tell me what they thought about potentially the story, because I would love to hear about people who experienced this fresh on day one, both for multiplayer and the single player, to hear what they thought about the story development as it was going on. Because unfortunately, because of my personal choices, I was deliberately late to this. I only knew about some scarce things about. I did remember that either Josh Butcher or someone else did talk about the ending of Resistance 2 at some point very far in the past, and I mean by that 2008, 2009. But by the time I got the game, I did forgot about it, so it was still relatively fresh. But I know that there is, technically someone who contributed. And again, remember, the first game was actually pivotal in helping the PS3 actually staying afloat in its first couple of years, because most of our games certainly weren't. Again, Genji Days of the Blade, for example.
Like, the baffling thing is, there are plenty of other examples of games that came out mainly for the multiplayer, but had a good enough single player that they're still remembered fondly. Like the Cybertron games, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron.
I think also the first two Lost Planet games do count from Capcom. I know that Lost Planet 2 had also some cross promotion with Killzone as a result.
And while
but I don't know to what extent.
And while most of the Halo and Gears of War games still have their multiplayer available,
and there you go. Like I said, the final weak point of Widowmaker is its gonads. Can someone quote me that line from the Transformers movies?
I am underneath the enemy scrotum, just hanging by the chain balls.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, Michael.
Look, I like the Bayformer movies when they do good, but you will not hear me defending Revenge of the Fallen. Even if I can get a sort of twisted sense of entertainment out of that.
Jova, it's even beyond that. It's just, if you want to present an argument towards the bad writing, just talk about kids and that's all, apparently.
For me, it's one of those things where I see so many pieces of media getting cancelled online for being racist, and yet for some reason these movies don't get a.
Okay.
I can tell you that they're not remembered fondly.
No, they're not remembered fondly. That being,
I don't hear anyone trying to critically evaluate Revenge of the Fallen.
No.
I get that, but like, how come the same kind of? Okay, what's like the? I'm trying to think.
Okay. If what you're asking is like why people aren't retroactively canceling Michael Bay for that, like, well, one, it's typically agreed that trying to cancel someone for something that happened way differently in a different time period ain't always the best move, James Gunn, anyone. And two, for Michael Bay's troubles, I don't attribute that to him. Squashed like a spider. Also,
and we actually move from the fallen billboard.
Also,
That's
is that a
it.
Chevrolet building behind there?
No, it's no. I can tell you there is no product placement in this game. It's just a generic advertisement.
Yeah, I was wondering if that might be the
You know what they could have done? Do some, neat Easter eggs for stuff that, for example, is in other, Sony games. I don't know.
It's just
I'm pretty sure there is something on.
Yeah, I don't know, Jova. I get the feeling there's some kind of double standard happening, to be honest with you, because I'm pretty sure if it was Disney making a movie like that, people would be much more mad about it, honestly.
I
feel like
mean,
there's a double
people-
standard going about.
I mean, let's not forget, Disney have not owned up to Song of the South, which has not helped their things. Like, see, here's the thing about Disney people get on their case. People get on Disney's case for trying to act like they're all for preservation and maintaining stuff that's wrong when they clearly chicken out on stuff here and there. I wouldn't say that that's the same thing going on with the Bayform or so. And again, like Tio said, it's not like people are defending Revenge of the Fallen as some secret piece of genius. So, like, I mean, people regard that movie as bad.
Give it some time, Jova. I mean, at this point, I have zero faith in people maintaining their positions.
I mean, look. To be fair, sometimes that has worked out in your favor. Ergo Stanley Kubrick, seeing as how people changed their tune on that eventually, and I get the feeling that was probably for the better in your eyes, since they went from hating it to suddenly liking it.
Well, the thing about
I mean, it is about of them changing their opinions over time. Like, I mean, again, like...
Okay, but I guess the big difference is that, here's the thing, 2001: A Space Odyssey, okay, let me put it this way. It's not the same case where 2001: A Space Odyssey doesn't have problematic elements that aren't icky now or anything like that. It doesn't have that the same kind of thing. Like, 2001 was a movie that was made at a time where people just didn't expect or even understand what was the point of a movie that doesn't have a story. Like, what are you doing? Like, a movie that doesn't have a story? That's ridiculous, you know? I don't think it's quite the same case as a movie having problematic elements that are that age badly.
Well, I think we should in that case consider when Revenge of the Fallen came out, near the early 2010s, where a lot of media was doing a lot of edgy stuff, pushing the envelope. Like,
not to mention, as I also was actually saying before, Pedro, I don't think people were liking the character of Kids and Montlep even when the movie came out.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, again, that's the thing. It's not like people are speaking positively of Revenge of the Fallen.
I get that. That I get. What I mean is that, like, if that movie came out today, Michael Bay would get far more flack.
Oh, definitely. You know what? I'm not going to argue with you on that, because that is one thing about the 2020s, which apparently it got to a point where even Family Guy was kind of forced to finally start treating Meg better, because the stuff that was flying in the 2010s... Holy cow, nowadays would have absolutely gotten Family Guy canceled.
This next section goes on for a while, so let's speed up.
Holy cow, more padding?
We're not gonna make it.
Well, it's more like you have several minor set pieces in these. For example, in here you have to pass from a destroyed building block, or condominium, as it's called. But it takes a while, and it's actually one of the more dickish sections. Because there are a lot of these enemies with rocket launchers that love to just spam you, including also the snipers scattered throughout. So it's more the best if I just, for example, camp here a bit and continue to snipe them. In case you're wondering about the music, both this and another one that's gonna be used later will be taken from the Heavensward expansion of Final Fantasy XIV.
You know, I find it weird that building that I thought might be a Chevrolet building, like, sort of seemed to be going out of its way to go for incredibly specific locations that were highly recognizable, whereas this game, Again, maybe it's because stuff's more ruined, but it feels like it's gone for a much more generic approach with a lot of the different locations.
To be fair, again, considering it's been 4 years after the events of 2, and at this point, like 6 years after the start of the invasion in America of the Chimeran, I kind of get the idea why most of the cities will be dilapidated and not much stuff that will be recognizable.
Which makes it perfect for the legal departments.
Well, not anymore. As we noticed from 1, it's not a case where even if someone bitched about it, you cannot really argue about copyright about a building.
Oh, true. And to be fair, over in America, we're usually pretty chill with people using certain locations. Like, I honestly can't really recall a major lawsuit that's happened anytime recently.
Well,
the only
thing that changes is if you want to film in New York, it costs you a lot, especially if you want to have the obligatory Times Square scene with a lot of publicity, in it. So that's why a lot of companies we used to in the case of Fox, but for example, Lionsgate will film instead in Canada and actually pretend it's a USA city.
But even still, that's just a filming cost. It's not like, oh, you'll get into legal trouble like what happened with that church in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice tune.
It's, like I said, the music of 14 goes for all the way, and usually the thing that it does is that it has 2 themes, one for the day and one for the night. And usually the one used for the night tends to be actually more relaxing, regardless of where you are. So it's actually pretty neat.
The perfect music to play while you're shooting people.
There's a particular Titan boss, icon boss battle in Final Fantasy 16 that also does something similar like this with the music.
Oh yeah.
Also, all these tubes around. Was this an old water park?
No, because the famous New York water park, sure. No, you have to remember with the event, the Chimeras during their first couple of years used conversion centers to mutate people and use those to do it. When they came in America, they did have some structures like the towers that actually had a couple of these, and not the ability to use conversion centers, and as a result, instead relied on the Grim type of conversion. So the tubes that you're seeing around is mostly just stuff that connects to the tower in New York. It's Chimera stuff, and as noted by one, it's stuff that was already present when they excavated from the ground.
So
because again, we're operating from the same logic of War of Worlds, the Spielberg one, except in this time it kind of makes sense because mankind did not excavated that much by this point under the cities.
So how do you feel about the overall map design in the solo campaign? Like, I know we can't ask about the multiplayer. But
again, it's pretty much okay. It's on a strictly arcade level, it's fine across the 3 games. Honestly, the only difficulty is about again how many enemies get to swarm you. But otherwise, the fact that they make you move around. And have the variety in buildings, and environment, and add some verticality to it instead of making you go through the standard maze. Because again, stuff like back in the day, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and subsequently Quake, did prided themselves instead of just having the maze formula, as in a set of corridors and simple rooms, maybe with some minor level of verticality in the case of Quake. That allowed you to just approach the enemies from any angle, and what was important was getting the collectibles and killing the enemy that was in front of you. As games evolved, they trying to spice things up, like for example giving more verticality, more like jumping, and different variety of weapon options, maybe different types of enemies that can approach also to you in different kind of ways, rather than just a couple of them. Because while they were present in the old, the old id Software games, they were still relatively limited, and there was only so much time you could do. Hence why, for example, in Doom, despite having some level of verticality in the levels, you did not aim up. because and otherwise, as long as you pointed the direction of the weapon towards the enemy, despite the height difference, you will always still hit them. But the same goes for them, so you need to watch out. If we ever get to comment on the classic Doom, you'll be able to see for yourself. Well, instead in these cases, what the fuck are you doing? Again, like I said, they're supposed to be kind of like cricket or mantis, so I get the idea that's why they're skipping and hopping around. So, but again, for the purpose of these games, as someone who only recently starting to try to understand better, FPSs and shooters in general, despite the fact that I played in the past, like the first Homefront, for example, despite that, they seem to be fine to me. Nothing particularly egregious about them. So there is that. Anyway, this next section you have to contend with a bunch of snipers, as you can see, both the cricket enemies and the proper snipers that are concealed with their camouflage. So fun stuff. And you noticed that there are a couple of those minor checkpoints that were present in the first game. That you have to actually blow up in order to actually pass through the door in the building.
Interesting.
Also, the music decided to go away once again for some reason.
Wait, really? I think it sounds like the music is there, unless that's just a machine humming noise we're listening to.
Yeah, environmental sound effects of Jova.
What does it say that sometimes the music is indistinguishable from that?
Yes, Pedro?
It's weird. Like we've come across quite a lot of instances like this.
Yeah, in all across the three games, not just these. I guess it's supposed to be an aesthetic choice. Like I said, I do wonder if it's a thing that the Call of Duty games were doing, and as such, it's another thing. They try to ape up. I think in the infamous No Russian mission, the one in the airport that made everyone actually panic when it was released, maybe if I recall correctly, in that one there is no music in order to accentuate the fact that you're massacring a bunch of civilians. Maybe there is that. I don't know. Like I said, I am curious to eventually give it a try to the Call of Duty games, at least for the single-player campaign. Steam apparently has the entire franchise, including the old games at end, so I'll give it a try there, possibly.
Sounds like an idea.
I'm actually surprised that that Activision bothered to put all of them in there.
No idea necessarily why, especially because when it's similar to games like FIFA. It's a type of franchise where they care mostly about just the later installments and the latest installments, and as such the one previews essentially tend to not rot but get forgotten. I get the idea maybe in recent times they started to care more because people might have not liked some of the new games and such, took refuge in some of the older ones. So maybe in order to keep also the servers alive in those, maybe there is that. That is just speculation. Nevertheless, I want to give it a try. That's my point. Just to see how bad, for example, the plot of Ghost is with a dog, or how in I think it's called I think it's Advanced Warfare, like how cringe Kevin Spacey can be, just for for two varieties. I know that there are some different continuities that they go on, like for example, Modern Warfare does constitute a story that goes bit by bit, so there is that. But I think that Ghost is a separate title on its own. I'll need to see, basically. There we go.
Whose phone's ringing?
It's the sound effect of the reloading of a sniper rifle with. And this sniper decided to actually charge me for reason that escaped me. Dude, did your hive mind brain malfunction or something?
It's getting a little glitchy, it would seem.
Anyway, let's speed up again. Again, same thing as before, different, just a different theme, but it's still, Heavensward. Basically, just to mention a bit, because I don't think I did when I used some of his songs, some of his music. Masayoshi Soken tends to do the Super Mario Land 2 kind of thing of having the central motif, which is usually composed by Nobuo Uematsu for the expansions, basing on that and doing a lot of variation that do fit usually the different levels.
In 16, he uses the prelude of as the primary leitmotif.
Very nice. You know, I will say this. This does work as a good contrast between the brutality of the situation while showing the need for Capelli to persevere.
I don't know how many experience do you have with shooters, Jova, but if there's something that anyone who's famous with them will tell you is that if you're playing a class, if it's something like the sniper, it's probably best to have a relaxing music because it's possibly the best thing that gives you concentration in order to aim at the target.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, sometimes it can get, can be done for comedic effect, like, listening to like classic opera or something like that, similar to what President Shinra does when he's demolishing Sector 7, but there is some merits, admittedly.
Yes. Honestly, I feel like Resistance 3 could have benefited from a lot of direction like this.
The franchise as a whole would have benefited with a better soundtrack, I'm sorry. There are good pieces scattered throughout, but it's not enough, I'm sorry.
That was sadly a bit of a symptom of a time. That is not to say that we did not get shooter games with great soundtracks. Gears of War, Halo, again, the Cybertron games, but... it did feel like a lot were going for the cinematic approach of having a minimalistic soundtrack, more so strict to just your background.
Not exactly, I would argue. I don't know if you're not really in this. Remember, this was till 2011, so even something that was more militaristic around the time, like Winter Soldier, did add still, a strong sense of, leitmotif. Anyway, another Stalker. So, Joy, we haven't seen one since the first level.
So do we get to fight this one proper?
Yes, sir. Well, even it's the Goliath that we haven't fought proper. The Stalker we did fought one in the first level, and it's present here too. So as before, they use the MP grenade to destroy its shield, and then move on. Like I said, since we're in the home stretch, unfortunately, it's the case where the classic tactic of the game, throwing everything in a kitchen sink at you. And like I said, in this case, also, the hybrid's armed with the rocket launcher because, there's no kill like overkill. And I cannot even say the thing that we said is back where the enemy gets all the new with the cool toys, because those are weapons that you can use. So there's not even there is technically equality. It's just that this time around, it's the enemy that can butt-fuck you.
Goody.
And there you go. There's the tower actually in the distance, so we're actually not that far off. There you go. Another tactic that could be used is use the Augur Shield, because that the shield that the Stalker is using can actually be passed through with the Augur, despite what the game is telling you. So it's a good tactic, but unfortunately, since it's a non-organic target, the Augur doesn't inflict that much damage to machine, so you're kind of forced to rely on the EMP and then throw properly the weapon at him. And yeah, like I said, also I think in the first game, the Chimerans do talk, but it's barely incomprehensible. It's not like the Locust, where some case it will have like a single word that's repeated, over and over, and it will be still intelligible. No, it's sometimes it's like reversed or incomprehensible. So I don't know actually what. Oh come on! I just disabled it.
That was jive. Are we there yet?
No.
There you go. 4 rockets to deal with this guy.
So help you kids, don't make me turn this car around.
But we're actually close to the fucking tower. Like,
Fuck it, I'll still turn it around just to make my point.
Everyone
Don't
knows
try to
that.
beat me. Don't try to beat me in a battle of stubbornness, kids. You will lose every time.
An adult who's tough but fair and honest. Incredibly bluntly honest.
alright, are there any more Chimerans or can I actually move forward?
No? Okay
Oh,
then.
fuck.
Oh, come on.
To be
Was
fair, it
those-
was they actually throw agile grenades as a initial tactic and then moved on. That was kind of cute the way to symbolize an X-Sword.
I will say, kudos to Capelli
Who
for
can play
legit.
that game, bitches?
Yeah, true. I have to say, props to Capelli for literally tackling all of this on his lonesome at the most hopeless point.
Like I said, at this point he's too far into it, possibly to quit. So what else he can do?
I think it says something that even Hale, when he was hopped up on all that serum, still had hope, but Capelli is legit doing this on his lonesome without genetic modifications. I mean, it's honestly a shame that they don't build off more of his character, because he does have the potential to be a
Again,
certified
It would have been
badass.
so easily to do it. Not just the suggestions that I have and I had, but it's even more simple. Just keep it also a bit the stubbornness that he had for the second game that he had in the second game.
Yeah, like-
that was a good foundation despite anything. So why not keeping that?
Like, you had foundation for his character that was well established in 2, and then just
If
abandoned
anything,
it.
again, he was one of the more recognizable, members of Hale's team, properly because of his reason. So
Yeah, like, he was definitely highlighted, arguably the most aside from Hale in the group.
like I argue Warner also because he was the tech guy, so he was responsible for radio communication and getting vehicles moving. He was
True.
the one that hijacked the drone in one of the early missions, so there is that. But yeah, Capelli did stood out, and he was clearly important even towards the end.
And while Capelli did help out, I still argue he got thrown away too early, and I don't want to say completely like a chump, but like, man, I don't know. Like, it felt like he.
Come on, another one.
It felt like
This game loves those, doesn't it?
Jesus. At least tell me you got a checkpoint right before that.
Yeah, so don't worry.
Oh, thank goodness. But like, I think my issue with Warner's death is that his death literally happens just because we fall for one of the oldest tricks in the book, splitting up.
Yeah. It was clearly just a moment of some of the party needs to die at this point, so let's find an excuse.
Like, I guess at least it wasn't the black guy who died first, but that's not saying much for, like, the first guy who did die, who... No, he might as well have just been a prop room, honestly.
And again, at the very least, we did so both of them die. Again, I forgot his name. Blake dies off screen, and if he didn't told you, you wouldn't even have noticed his dead body while you get through the level.
One thing.
It is a nice touch, but it still happens. Sorry, go on, Pedro.
One thing that I would like to see in an action movie, or anything in general, really, is have a story that's primarily has an African American cast, but there's one white guy, and he's the one that dies first. That's what I would like to see.
So you'd say that you wanted to see Black Panther, but Martin Freeman died.
Well, he didn't, so I guess.
Well, that's what I asked. All right. I don't know how to tell you this, but despite the game showering you with these resources, now the game is expecting you to lose at this point. A specific point, mind you, not before. At this specific point.
Huh?
We have the shooting equivalent of a battle in a JRPG where you're supposed to lose.
A battle where you're supposed to. Okay, I'm not saying it can't be done. It is a weird choice, though.
I just put down the controller then.
Is there any good indication that you're supposed to lose at this point?
And again, I remember I played this in 2021, so if 3 years had passed, I did forgot that I supposed to actually progress the game this way. So as you can see, I'm still fighting normally.
Are there like any enemies who just will not go down regardless, or?
It's just that the game keeps spawning, it's not just a matter of the stalkers. As you can see, there are even bombardments happening from off screen, and those are the ones that are supposed to eventually get you, because eventually you will run out of health packs.
I'm not saying that bits where you're supposed to lose can never work.
Which also doesn't help, because you can see each of them causes the screen to tremble and a brief flashing. Like, look at this shit.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Bits where you're supposed to lose are put in to surprise the players or give them a sense of, oh crap, essentially, but then have a moment where you can finally fight back proper. I don't know, this feels like it legit just comes out of nowhere, since as difficult as this is, it feels trademark for Resistance.
Because I know it's not really noticeable, but there's a Goliath in the background. That's the one that's spamming all these rockets.
I can think of one, actually. There are places, like for example, in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, when we reach the end of the Trunks OVA DLC, right? The future Trunks, I mean, right?
There you go.
We whited out.
So it looks like how will Capelli get out of this one?
And then the song crashes on him from the looks of it.
It's Charlie!
He came with the cavalry!
See, look, Capelli, it's good to make friends.
I guess so.
Does it get blown up, the helicopter?
Well, doesn't seem like it, so let's go.
Whew!
Barely made it.
Well, there we are then.
Tune in for the next spot. Okay, first of all, Pedro, I'll let you conclude with your example. Go on.
In Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, anyone who saw the history of Trunks OVA, of course, knows what happens to Future Gohan at the end, right? You play as both of those characters, and yes, which means you have to try to defeat the androids with Future Gohan, which any Dragon Ball fan already knows exactly what happens there. One cool thing that I do like that they do is that the more the battle goes on, the more limited your moves get in order to demonstrate how Gohan is starting to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and because of the androids pounding him in the dirt, right? Okay, question, Theo. Does this game do something like that where your controls... Well, I'm guessing no. The control... No, because the best way to do that... Like for example, here's another example. You know when Bardock is super wounded and tries to warn his fellow Saiyans about what Frieza is doing? When we're trying to get to them, the game puts you in a position where you can only walk and you have to literally crawl like Bardock is supposed to, again, to emphasize how the character is. You can do this kind of thing. I understand what's the point of these.
Also, technically, the final fight in Crisis Core.
Yeah, that too. It's you can do this kind of thing well. The problem is that use the controls. Do that again. Much like look at another example, like Snake in the microwave hall in Metal Gear Solid 4. That's another example. Actually, go all the way and make sure the controls make me feel the character's difficulties. If you're just doing this, but you have to lose, but we don't actually do anything cool about it. It's just lame.
To be fair, the example you described is still a sequence where you still move on. So it's not a case where you something that you're supposed to lose.
Sure,
it's something that theoretically, if I put down the controller, nothing will change. Sure. So there is that. So the next time, where with Charlie, Capelli decides what's the best approach to tackle the tower, and we see the epic conclusion of this franchise. Yeah.
See you then.